Please be seated. We will now continue with Mr. Perkins' testimony. Mr. Perkins, remember you're still under oath.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hallbaker, you may cross-examine.
Great, thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Just have a few questions. I have a cold, so if I say something that you don't understand or if I'm not articulating very well, please let me know.
You might want to scoot up and sit talking to the microphone. There you go.
Now, prior to September of 1990, how long had you lived at the Hillside Inn?
Probably 3 or 4 months.
And so you were familiar with the Hillside Inn?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Hillside Apartments?
I believe those are the apartments across.
Okay. And I can show you,
Right there.
sir. Yeah, I can show you. Thank you. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Just so the jury can see, sir, this will be State's Exhibit 5. Can you point to where Hillside Apartments are? Okay, so that's the sort of the rectangular building to the left of the Hillside Inn, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and Hillside Inn has the sort of reddish roof, correct?
Yes.
Do you know if there's a stop sign as you enter into the Hillside Inn, or was there a stop sign?
I couldn't tell you.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you actually spoke with law enforcement on 2 occasions. You remember the first one being, I believe, on the 19th of September?
I'm not sure of the date, but yeah. Yeah, I talked to him.
And then a couple days later, they came and talked to you again, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the first time, they were wanting to know if they were specifically asking you, I believe, information just from 6 to 9 p.m. the day before, is that right?
I'm not sure.
That's a horrible question. Okay. But when they came and talked to you, they had specific times that they wanted to talk to you about on the 17th. That would have happened on the 17th, correct?
Yes.
Or maybe the 18th, correct?
Yes.
And when you first talked to law enforcement and were telling them the time that you had gotten up in the middle of the night, did you tell them it could have been anywhere from midnight to 3 a.m.?
I believe it was from 1:30 to 3.
Okay,
is what I said.
If they're reporting that you believed it was between, you had informed them it was between midnight and 3, that would be an error?
I guess.
Well, you were guessing at the time anyway, weren't you?
Yes.
You couldn't pinpoint the
No.
time, so it wouldn't surprise you if maybe the initial range you gave them was midnight to 3.
Correct.
And can that also, the difficulty we have, and you've been questioned about this before, is that when you're talking about midnight, if you're around times involving midnight, you can either, if it's before midnight, you're talking about the day before, and if it's after midnight, you're talking about the next day. Fair enough?
Yeah. Yes.
When you saw this individual get out of the car, first of all, the car that you saw being towed, had you seen that car at Hillside Inn ever before?
No.
And when the individual that you saw get out of that car was agitated?
I just went out to get a pop, and he walked by me and went up the stairs.
You
That was
didn't
it.
notice anything unusual about his behavior?
No, I didn't talk to him. I didn't say nothing. I just got my soda and went back to my room.
There wasn't a look on his face that gave you concern?
No.
And when he pulled into that spot, was he pulling in at a high rate of speed, squealing his tires, or anything like that?
No.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further.
Mr. Perkins, I believe in response to Mr. Hallbaker's question, originally what time it thought it was, you said between 1:30 and 3.
Yes.
Tuesday morning, September 18th.
Yes.
Is there a reason you remember 1:30?
Because my clock was flashing 1:28, and so I must have bumped it or something, and the clock stopped at 1:28, so it just flashed. So it was any time after 1:28.
AM.
Yes.
Thank you, I have no further questions.
Anything further?
So the 3 a.m. would just be a guess because you didn't have a functioning clock at the time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You may sit down.
They would call Rodney Sinclair.
Mr. Sinclair, if you'll raise your right hand to be sworn in, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I have a seat right there, and make sure you speak in the microphone.
Please state your full name,
Rodney Patrick Sinclair,
and I'm going to have you spell your last name, please.
Sinclair.
What type of business are you in?
Automatic doors,
And what city do you reside?
Bondurant, Iowa.
At that same business you were in 1990,
Yes,
did you do business in the Quad City area?
yes,
And that would be Davenport, Iowa, Rock Island, Illinois.
yes.
When you were doing business in that area, did you stay at the Hillside Inn?
Yes,
I want to direct your attention specifically to September 17th of 1990. Were you staying at the Hillside Inn on that date?
yes.
You remember what day of the week that was?
Monday,
And why do you remember that?
Monday Night Football. I usually work late, but I got off early for that.
You got off early for Monday Night Football?
Yes,
Big football fan?
yes.
During the time that you were staying there on the September 17th, first of all, did you have a chance to observe somebody outside of the room?
Yes, a couple people.
Right. Did one of the persons draw your attention at some point?
Yes,
And who was that? Or what was the description of that person?
as I said 20-some years ago, it was a blonde girl.
Right? And when you saw that blonde girl, was there anything else then that you saw out on the balcony?
Was there another person?
Yes.
Yes.
And describe that person.
Back then I described as 30-something black man.
And that's, you recall testifying to that before.
Yes.
What was that individual doing?
Standing on the railing, or standing on the, whatever you want to call it, I guess, with hands on the railing looking out.
Do you know what time that was?
I know I probably worked till 5 and the game started probably 7, so it was in between them 2 times.
You just guesstimating?
Yes, it was daylight still.
Do you recall what room you were staying at the Hillside?
No. The room number, no.
If you testified previously that it was in room 55, does that sound right?
Yes,
Looking at State's Exhibit 5, do you recognize
yes,
the hillside there?
yes.
And do you know where your room would have been at that time?
I don't want to say. I
Okay.
can't say.
All right. But you don't dispute that previously you had testified it was room 55.
Correct.
Now, during that night, well, after watching Monday Night Football, what did you do?
Went to bed.
Did something awaken you later on that
Yes.
night?
Yes.
About what time?
I previously testified it was around 4 a.m.
And what woke you up at around 4 a.m.?
Shower, water running through the pipes, and pipes banging up against the wall.
And where was that noise coming from?
The room right beside me.
Room 54?
The only thing I can say is if you walk outside my room, to the right.
How long did that sound of running water, the banging pipe, last?
I think I previously testified around 45 minutes to an hour. It was a long time.
That seemed to you for a long time for a shower to be running?
Yes, I did think it was a long time.
Thank you, I have no further questions.
You may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think your testimony, good afternoon, sir. I think your testimony was that the football game was going to start at 7. And maybe I misheard you. But so you bookend the time frame by saying you got off work at 5 and the football game was going to start at 7. Did I mishear you?
Yeah, that's probably right, but maybe it was 8. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know it's been a long time. And
I think NFL today's 8, but back then I think it was 7. But I could be mistaken.
Would it help to refresh your memory if I showed you some of the testimony from back then?
Sure.
Okay. If your testimony back then was 8 o'clock, would you argue with that being
No,
accurate?
I wouldn't argue.
You remember having some discussions too about whether or not you went to your brother's room at any time during the game or before the game?
Yes,
Do you remember where you watched the game?
I watched it in my room.
Counsel, it's 95, page 1105. And starting at line 5, just that paragraph. Sir, I'm going to show you from transcript from prior testimony. And I just want you to read lines 5 through 8 quickly, just yourself. Okay. Okay, so, and do you recall also having some discussions with an attorney about the last time you would have seen the individual out on the balcony had to have been before 8 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. And so the time frame really is between 5 p.m. and 8 o'clock, correct?
I think that's fair. Yes.
Okay, and you would have seen this individual sometime before you began watching the football
Yes.
game? Okay. And the individual that you saw standing out there just on the balcony, were they acting in a funny way? Was there any behavior that drew your attention to them?
I remember curious to what he was looking at.
Okay. How about the blonde? Do you remember any behavior there?
How about the what?
The blonde, excuse me.
Any behavior?
Yeah, on her part.
I think she was drunk.
There was a party going on, wasn't there?
Yes.
Okay. How late did the party go?
Probably up till midnight.
Do you remember what room the party was going on in?
If you walk out my door to the left,
So just one room over to the left?
right.
And we've seen State's Exhibit 5 that has a picture of hillside apartments. It looks like there would have been several apartments to the right of you. Is that fair? Upstairs?
Yes,
Okay. And isn't it true that you really can't identify which room that rattling was coming from, only that it was coming from the right-hand side? Is that
correct.
And so if it was a very, very distant room, you wouldn't have been able to hear it at all, but if you could hear it, you couldn't pinpoint it to a single room necessarily to your right.
I believed it to be the next room.
Okay. But you can't say that for sure, can you?
No.
Okay. As a matter of fact, you testified before that there's no way you can say it was next door, it could have been the room over as well.
If I testified that before, yes.
Okay, isn't that the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Yes, Your Honor, I just want to clarify, when you talked in your previous testimony that you came out of your room and the party was to the left, you indicated to your left as if you were facing outside towards the parking lot. Is that right?
If you walk out my room, it was over to the left. If you're looking at my room, it was to the right.
Okay. So when you said that the banging noise was on your right, it would be to your right as you're
Walk
facing.
out of my room to the right. Looking at it, be to the left.
And it's your opinion that that's the room where the banging was coming from?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you. Please sit down.
Thanks.
Today we call Armand Mikaili.
Sir, if you just come right up here. Please raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, have a seat right here. Make sure you speak in the mic.
Please state your full name.
Arman Mikaili,
Can I have you spell your first name, please?
Arman,
And your last name?
Mikaili,
Spell it.
Mikaili.
What is your occupation, Mr. Mikaili?
I'm a degreed engineer. To make a long story short, about 40 years of it, to include, at the time, I was in the automotive industry, many years of automotive experience. So I know cars.
Okay. And we're going to refer to September 17th of 1990. What was your occupation then?
Defense contractor, you can say automotive, M110 howitzer, there was an automotive command, actually called automotive command, TACOM, that was part of our contract, a couple of different Army commands affiliated with the Arsenal.
All right. And so you were doing business with the Rock Island Arsenal in Rock Island, Illinois?
DOD contract, correct, yes.
Department of Defense.
That's correct.
And the Rock Island Arsenal is a military installation that one of the things it does is manufacture howitzers, among other things.
Manufacturer,
Well, it's an Army facility, let's say it that way.
I think they make the Hummer, I think, they still do. Different products they manufacture.
When you were working with the Rock Island Arsenal, did you stay at the Hillside Inn in Rock Island?
That's correct.
Do you remember the events of September 17th, 1990?
That's correct.
Were you staying at the Hillside Inn on that day?
That's correct.
What time would have you got off work?
About 5 o'clock.
And what did you do when you got off work?
I sat down and licked my wounds like I do when I get off work and until I get hungry.
And at some point, did you observe something unusual, or that you felt was unusual?
No.
Did you go out to dinner then at some point?
Yes, sir.
And what did you do for dinner?
Went to Maid Right, not far, but a couple miles down the road on 11th Street.
Right? I don't know if they have Maid Rights here or not, but a Maid Rights kind of a fast food sandwich place.
I think I got an omelet. I remember I got an omelet.
What time did you go to the Maid Right?
After 8, it's about 8:30, give or take 15 minutes is the entire, like I said, it's not that far. And the time to make an omelet doesn't take long. So the entire thing, it was between 8:15, 8:45, 8:30, give or take 15 minutes.
And during that time period, approximately how long were you gone from the Hillside?
5 minutes to get there, 5 minutes to cook it, 5 minutes to get back, 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes. When you got back, what did you see? Did,
what I saw was, I see the pictures, if you're familiar with Hillside Inn.
all right, let me, it looks like
Yeah.
that would that
The
help you? to-
pictures help, yes, please.
Okay.
Because I'm going up the ramp in front of the office
All
in
right.
my car.
Let me stop you there. Let me get the picture ready for you. Using State's Exhibit 5, I'll tell you what, let's do it this way. Let's, Mr. Mikaili, if I could have you come down here and speaking slowly so our court reporter can take it down. And can you describe to the jury what it was you saw?
So this is 11th Street.
I'm gonna have you stand maybe over this. Can you stand to this side so that the jury can see the picture?
So this is the ramp I went up, returning to my room 52. There's the stairway, second floor. And so on the way to my room, park the car, go to the room, up the ramp, then you take a right into this, it's small in this picture, but it's kind of, I think it's still a ramp, like slope, or maybe flat. But this is obviously a ramp here, and then...
If I could just stop you there for the record, you're pointing to the, what it would appear to be the entrance to the Hillside Inn.
The office is right here. So
Okay.
The front of the office.
Okay.
And that's where, can I go ahead and, am I done with the picture?
Well, if it's going to help describe...
I'm holding it away.
All right.
But I can tell you what I saw, your first question.
That'd be good.
I saw a car, a maroon Peugeot, so I saw the car, and maybe I should go back up. So I should show you what the car was doing. The car was darting back in reverse that way, across. By the time I saw him, he was right in front of me. Darting as in fast even for not reverse, it would have been fast, but it was fast. In reverse, and as you go into in reverse, you're supposed to, I think legally, that you put your arm on the passenger, you turn it towards you. So I also saw the driver. So the car, I saw what car, and I knew the car. And I knew him because by that time we both extended stay there for a few weeks, if not even a month.
Okay.
So I recognized the car, and I recognized the driver.
All right. I think you said the car was a what?
A Peugeot, French make Peugeot, which is not very common. I don't know if you've heard of it before this.
And you know, is that spelled P-E-U-G-E-O-T?
That's correct.
What, excuse me, what color was the Peugeot?
Maroon. I could describe it as maroon, maroonish red.
Going to show you what's been marked as 86A. State's Exhibit 86A is a photograph. Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
Yes, sir.
And what's in that photograph?
It's that same car, the maroon Peugeot. I'm not sure what year it is, the maroon Peugeot.
You testified it as you were coming in, it was reversing kind of rapidly towards you.
Barely avoided hitting him by slamming on my brake.
And I think you testified you knew the driver?
Yes, sir.
Did he also live at the hillside?
Yes, I never, I knew him as in, by face, recognized the face. I never dignified him by speaking to him, and he never dignified me by speaking to me, so, but I knew him by face, yes.
Do you know what room he stayed in?
54, 2 doors down.
Have you previously identified that individual in the courtroom?
Yes,
Are you able to identify the individual you saw in the courtroom today?
yes.
And where is he seated and what is he wearing, please?
Ironically, he's wearing the same color I am again. We didn't arrange it, but he's wearing a gray jacket and a black shirt with stripes.
Your Honor, I'd ask the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
He does.
When you saw Mr. Liggins coming backing towards you, did you see his face?
Yes, sir.
Was there anything different or unusual about it?
Unusual is different than unusual, yes, sir.
And how would you describe his look?
In one word, adrenaline.
And why do you say that?
I know I used different words before, but I've spent some time working more with chemistry, so that's a chemical word. I'm not a subject matter expert in chemistry, but I think we're all familiar with adrenaline.
And what words have you used to describe it before?
Perturbed, looked perturbed. That's one word I used. Agitated, I think I used agitated. Stressed, from, the adrenaline would be from the stress. Like somebody who went through a chaotic situation, build up the adrenaline.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions. Mr. Hallbaker, thank you.
You cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Sir, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 5 again. Good afternoon, by the way.
Hi.
As I understand it, it looks like they're at the hillside end that there's like an entry port that's got a roof over. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so you were driving into that, through that port into the parking lot.
That's correct.
And 54, would that be on the right-hand side of the building across the parking lot?
Nearer this is the stairway, nearer the stairway than I was, so I'm like halfway in the span, and he's more nearer.
Okay, and so when you saw this vehicle, were you just entering into the parking lot?
I didn't have long enough to enter. I had long enough to slam on my brakes. I stopped. Must have been a foot or 2 feet bumper, to my bumper to his broadside.
And you're saying that vehicle was going in reverse towards you? Is that right?
Well, he was heading out.
Okay. In reverse towards you?
Well, obviously he hadn't seen me, so.
Okay.
Right.
You recognize the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
You recognize the individual. Did you see, as this car was coming at you in the reverse, you didn't see anything unusual about any lights on the vehicle, did you?
I wasn't at an angle. I should ask me a question, no. But I was, remember the angle, I was like, he was going that way, I was perpendicular to him.
You were perpendicular like this, okay?
Right,
Right?
correct.
Is that what perpendicular means to you?
Means right, he
It would
was,
look like
yeah.
a T.
T, yeah, there you go.
Okay, and so if it's a T, and this is the top part of the T, if my left hand, my right hand be the bottom part of the T, are you the top part?
No, make me your right hand.
Okay, okay. So you were able to see his face,
Yes,
and I think your testimony was because if somebody's reversing, they've got their hand back so you can look like this,
that's correct.
towards the rear of the vehicle and see where it's going.
That's correct.
And so if you would have had to have been had a view of the rear of his vehicle, correct? Correct?
Rear view first, the rear first, the view, but my line of sight, he's going in reverse. So if you think about, if we triangulate here, then he would be turning, and the driver is on the left side. Most cars, the drivers here are left side, left side, so that's why he was facing me.
And again, besides the make of the vehicle and the color, you did not notice any distinguishing characteristics about that vehicle as it was backing up, correct?
The driver,
Of the vehicle.
that's correct.
Was there a stop sign, sir, as you entered into Hillside?
Often, I mean, this is a driveway I can't really vividly remember from that many years ago, but if there was, it was, I think it was on and off, and I can't remember at that point it was, I mean, this is into the driveway you're talking, or?
Yes.
So what, before the ramp, before the driveway in front of the office, or I mean, I'm trying to see where it would make sense to be. I don't recall one.
In State's Exhibit 5, we're talking about that entry. Was there a stop sign around there so that people would pause before they went into the parking lot?
I can't remember.
You can't remember? A good driver would pause, though, don't you think?
Well, I'm going to object, Your Honor. I'll withdraw. Sorry.
Well, it was dark, and I didn't see anything until it almost hit me, but I did stop in time from that.
And your testimony is that you almost had an accident with this individual, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And because you almost had that accident, you found those circumstances very remarkable, correct?
Well, you can characterize that remarkable. I wouldn't characterize it as defensive driving on either our parts. I was home. I was in a hurry to eat my omelet, right? So
You were in a hurry. So could you have driven at an inappropriate rate of speed into that parking lot to get home because you're hungry?
I stopped in time at a safe speed that I stopped in time. I stopped. He didn't even see me. By the time I slammed on my brakes, he hadn't even seen me. He had just looked at me like...
And you narrowly avoided an accident, correct?
I avoided it. He didn't avoid anything.
And is that one thing that can lead to an adrenaline rush when you narrowly avoid a car accident?
Well, the timing of it, I mean, by the time I saw him, adrenaline made it to his face, not his, I mean, this is a fraction of a second, but long enough to see him.
Right.
But where the adrenaline came from, see, the point is, usually, look how he is now. Do you see adrenaline?
Your Honor, this
That's
is
his
a
usual.
question and answer format at this point. I'm I'm not asking about your opinions about him right now, but you almost
Okay.
had an accident, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Anything further?
Thank you, Mr. Mikaili.
Thank you, you may sit down.
Your Honor, at this time, we're going to present to the jury State's Exhibit 508, the prior sworn testimony of Michael F. Noon, read by Greg Whitcomb.
Exhibit 508 is omitted. Ms. Long, can you tell us what year this is from?
Yeah, 1995, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Michael F. Noon, called as a witness by the state, being first duly sworn by the court, was examined and testified as follows. Tell us your first name. Tell us your full name, sorry.
Michael F. Noon, N-O-O-N.
Your occupation, please,
I'm an investigator for the City of Rock Island Police Department.
and your title.
Investigator,
Are you a police officer?
that's correct.
How long have you been a police officer?
17 years.
As an investigator, what do you folks, and I would call you a detective?
That's correct.
How long have you been a detective or an inspector?
Since 1989.
All that time you were with the Rock Island Police Department?
That's correct.
Are you from time to time working cases that require your cooperation with other agencies?
That's correct.
Oftentimes agencies in the state of Iowa?
That's correct.
Are you fairly familiar with the officers that work in Iowa?
Some of them, yes.
Do you remember working in an investigation on the disappearance of Jennifer
Yes, I do.
and the murder of Jennifer Lewis?
That's correct.
At our request and through subpoena, did you gather certain telephone records?
Yes, I did.
And I believe you have some computer capabilities at the Rock Island Police Department that Davenport didn't have at that time. Isn't that correct?
I believe so, yes.
And what were those capabilities?
To enter those telephone numbers and other telephone numbers and make a comparison.
So once the data was entered, and you could ask specific questions relative to specific phone numbers,
That is correct.
did we ask you to do so?
Yes, you did.
I'm going to hand you what's been accepted into evidence as State's Exhibit 102 and ask you if that's the information that you obtained per subpoena.
Yes, it is.
Ms. Walton?
Yes.
I'm not sure what the case we previously did.
No, it hasn't.
Are we doing that to the service?
No, we will not be doing 102. Is that the information that was loaded into the computer that you just told the jury of?
Some of the information, yes.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit 103 and tell us what it is.
That would be a printout of telephone numbers that we asked the computer to see if calls had been made from the Hillside Inn, which were the telephone numbers that were subpoenaed to these.
What is the Hillside Inn's telephone number?
I would have to refer to those other records.
I withdraw the question. That took into account all of the calls that were made from the Hillside Inn, which is the big apartment, hotel complex that's in State's Exhibit number 5. Is that correct?
That's correct?
So all of the calls for a certain period of time you asked for,
That's correct.
and you loaded them into the computer.
Yes.
And what did you ask the computer to do?
See if calls have been made from the Hillside Inn to 4 different individuals and their telephone numbers.
Tell us what numbers that you inquired of and who they belonged to or who were assigned to that day.
A call to Margaret Liggins, 319-386-2830. To it would be Joe Glenn, also known as Ace, 309-794-1534. To Brenda Adams at 309-787-2384. And to Denise Liggins. I don't have that telephone number with me.
And did you ask those for a particular day?
Yes,
Is that a printout of what you required that program to do with the information you had given it?
that's correct.
Is that a true and accurate photocopy of the information that you obtained by that source?
That's correct.
By the computer source is what I meant.
Correct.
Your Honor, we offer into evidence State's Exhibit 103.
No objection, Your Honor.
103 will be received.
Investigator Noon, had I previously requested that you in blue with a highlighter indicate certain calls?
Yes, you did.
And what calls did you highlight at my request?
A call to Margaret Liggins on the 17th. It would be 9/17/90 at 11:56 a.m. to 319-386-2830. Also a call to Ace, also known as Joe Glenn, on the 17th of September 1990 at 7:38 p.m. to 794-2814, and 9/17 at 8:40 p.m. 794-1534, both 309 area code, and the last call to Brenda Adams on 9/17 at 8:41 p.m. 309-787-2384.
No further direct examination at this time, Your Honor.
You may cross-examine.
Officer Noon, I would like to refer you to, let me ask you this first. Do you have any cross-referencing to see whether or not phone calls were placed from the Glen residence to the residence apartment of Mr. Liggins at the Hillside?
No,
Anybody ever asked you to do that?
no,
So you would have no way of knowing whether or not anyone from the Glen household made a phone call that would have showed up on the record from the Glen residence to Mr. Liggins,
no,
or from the Glen residence to the Adams residence.
no.
You just never checked, right?
That's correct.
And I would like you to direct your attention to number 103, the right-hand column. These are called to Brenda Adams. First, I need to ask you this. Is at 8:41 p.m. the only phone call that you could find that matched up from Hillside to Brenda Adams?
On the 17th?
9/17/90?
That's correct.
I need that. These show time of phone calls on them.
That's correct.
And did you take that to be that the time that some kind of connection was made, that triggered a phone billing sequence?
That's correct.
And do you have any reason to believe that any adjustments to these times are necessary in order for us to use this chart to tell when phone calls are placed or received?
Not that I'm aware of.
So that if a phone call were placed 2 hours after the Brenda Adams 8:41 p.m. phone call, what time would that call be placed?
2 hours later,
That would be 10:41, right?
10:41.
What I'm trying to say is you didn't adjust for the daylight savings times. These are the real times.
As far as I'm aware of, yes.
You had to have the caller number as well as the receiver's number in order to make this type of chart. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you did that based on the records that came from what was then Illinois Bell, Ameritech, or Illinois Ameritech that are already in evidence.
That's correct.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you, sir.
Do you have any redirect, counsel?
No, Your Honor. And we will now read the testimony when Michael F. Newman was recalled to the stand. Michael F. Noon, recalled as a witness by the state, having been previously duly sworn by the court, was examined and testified as follows. Investigator, would you please tell us again who you are?
Michael F. Noon, N-O-O-N.
And I believe you previously advised this jury that you would work this case along with the FBI and the Davenport Police Department.
Yes, sir.
And you are a member of the Rock Island Police Force.
That's correct.
Are you familiar with an individual by the name of Antonio Holmes?
Yes.
You saw him testify here?
Yes.
Earlier in the investigation of this case, did you have an interview with Antonio?
Yes, sir.
Did you come and find him, or did he find you?
I found him at his residence and interviewed him.
Did you have an interview?
Yes.
And have more than one interview?
That's correct.
And did he advise you that he had been at Mac's Liquor Store on September 17, 1990?
Yes, he did.
And see an individual there?
Yes, he did.
And identified that individual?
Yes, he did.
And did he know the name of the man?
No, I don't believe he did.
How did he identify him?
He was shown some mug photographs.
How many?
6.
Were they all male African Americans?
Yes, they were.
Did he point to one of those?
Yes, he did.
Did he have any hesitancy in pointing to one?
No, he did not.
Did he tell you that it was that person or looked like that person?
That he was the person.
Who was the person in that picture?
The defendant, Stanley Liggins.
You knew because you had placed a known picture of Mr. Liggins in that array?
That's correct.
Did he appear to be intoxicated to you at that time?
He had been drinking.
Under what you would call the influence of alcohol?
Yes.
But you had driven him, so you weren't concerned about him getting in a car.
No.
How did you determine that he had been drinking?
He smelled a little bit of alcohol. He had kind of shiny eyes, gave some indication that he had been drinking.
Any trouble with his speech?
No.
Did you have any trouble understanding him?
No.
Did he have any trouble sorting through the pictures?
No.
Tell the jury how you displayed those pictures.
You assemble 6 mug shots. You cover up the portion of the mug shot that shows that it's a police mug shot. Mix the defendants somewhere in the middle and hand them to the individual who is making the identification and let them look through them.
You don't do like on television and point your finger to the one that you want to have pointed out.
No.
You don't put it in the front
No.
and not in the back.
No.
You put them out like you're dealing cards.
Yes.
And did you see him again?
Yes.
Where at?
The Davenport Police Department?
Did he appear upset or shaken?
Yeah. He was confused.
Was he talking to other officers?
Yes.
What did he tell you about the prior identification that he had made?
That he wasn't absolutely certain that he believed it was the individual.
Did he come to you and tell you he wanted to recant the identification, that it wasn't good?
Not recant it, just that he wasn't sure.
No more questions.
You may cross-examine, counsel.
Do you recall what date it was that you first were involved in this identification procedure with Mr. Holmes?
It was the 21st.
Isn't it correct that by the 21st day of September 1990, Mr. Liggins' photograph had been displayed all over newspaper and television in the Quad Cities?
I believe so.
Is it a usual procedure of doing an identification, whether it be from pictures or from persons actually lined up, to allow someone who appears to be under the influence of alcohol to make an identification at that time?
I've done it before, yes.
It's the usual. So it's not considered bad procedure to do that?
No.
You knew for a fact that the issue of identification of Jennifer Lewis's killer was the focus of this investigation, correct?
That's correct.
When you met with Mr. Holmes on the 21st, you realized that he had been drinking and was to some extent under the influence of alcohol. Wouldn't it have been better, fairer practice to wait until the next day when he was sober to do the line of procedure?
I think it was important then to get the information that he had to offer.
If you were to compare procedures or the desirability of procedures for identification based on your education and your experience as a law enforcement officer, which would be the preferable identification? One made while under the influence of alcohol, or one made when someone is sober?
When they were sober, sure.
Now,
On the next day that he came to talk to you folks, he appeared to be sober, correct?
Correct.
Did he look at the same photo lineup?
I don't believe so.
But he told you that he, at that point, having sobered up, he was not certain of the identification he had made the day before.
That's correct.
And was that the end result of a fairly long session with him the next day?
Yes.
Nothing else, sir? Oh, I do believe I do have something, Your Honor. Sir, I'll direct you to page 1207. Counsel's fine with that, line 3. Sir, you page 1207, line 3?
I'm there, sir.
Okay, thank you. As you know, Mr. Noon, I provided for your appearance at this trial also.
That's correct.
Saving you the necessity of staying around campus in case you're needed in Rock Island, counsel to the state has agreed to let me ask you a few questions that aren't on the topic that you just testified about. How long have you been affiliated with the Rock Island Police Department?
20 years, 17 of that was an officer.
You were a patrol officer.
I was.
Did you ever have a patrol beat assigned that included what we would call the west side leading up to the border with Miley?
Yes.
Are you familiar with that area?
Yes.
I'm asking you now to look at what is in as State's Exhibit 5. And if you can kind of put it that way so the jury knows what you're looking at too. As you can see, we have identifiers on it already showing the hillside end and Rock Island and Left Street. Can you tell the jury what kind of area is further west of what's shown here?
Well, it's partially residential, partially wooded.
Approximately how far from the Rock River is the hillside?
Approximately a quarter of a mile.
And as far as the Rock River there by Milan, are the areas on each side of the river, right at the street there and the bridge, are they pretty well cleaned up? There's cement and there's a little power plant and things like that around there?
That's correct.
And then as you would go away from the area where the actual bridge is, do the sides of the Rock River there then become river bottoms and wooded?
Yes, I believe it's an old channel.
Now, I want you to please look at State's Exhibit 121. It's in the evidence. Can you hold it so the jury can see you and note that relevant places have been marked, including the hillside end, and right below that there's an area about a quarter of an inch wide buried inside. What is that?
Rock River.
Does that map give a reasonable idea of the relation between the Rock River and the river bottom and the hillside?
Correct.
Thank you very much, and I thank counsel also.
Do you have any redirect across on that, Ms.?
Going to line 14. How many years as a police officer?
17.
In your 17 years, have you talked to people under the influence of alcohol or one other thing?
Yes.
You talk to people as you find them and where you find them.
Yes.
In a perfect world, we get them 3 days in detox and then we talk to them.
Yes.
We don't live in a perfect world, do we?
No.
Thank you.
No further requests.
Your Honor, I do need to make a record. Doesn't matter.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll give you 15 minutes. It's 2:10 now. We'll start again at 2:15. Please keep the admonition in mind. Do not discuss the case and continue to keep an open mind. Please rise for the
Your Honor, you said 2:15, 15 minutes more.
I'm sorry.
You were given them 15 minutes, so 2:25.
I did. Thank you for correcting me. That's why I'm in the law school instead of 2:25, sorry. Mr. Walden?
The good news is we are running ahead of schedule. We are at a point where we're going to read in transcripts at this point. And one of those potential transcripts would be of Paul Fellner, F-E-L-N-E-R. He is a witness in the prior to in the 95 trial. It's pertaining to phone records. We've been discussing this issue with the defense on both sides are desirous of having the phone records entered, and a little background explanation through the testimony of Mr. Fellner is preferable. He is very difficult for him to make it for the trial, and therefore the parties have agreed that the testimony of 1995 transcript testimony of Mr. Fellner will be read in the record. Both parts were named.
Yes, Your Honor, we were in discussions about it, and I understand Mr. Felder's circumstances, so we're agreeing to the transcripts be read.
I don't have him on my list.
No, that's a late breaking development, so we would propose in round 5:18.
Are you saying Fellner is in Frank or so?
Fellner as in Frank.
Is there anything in there that I need to read or I should have
We'll review that and have a copy made at the break and make it a little longer than 15 minutes.
anything else for outside presence and jury?
Yes, the next issue is a witness, Chris Cadera, K-A-D-E-R-A. Both parties were attempting to secure his attendance. He's a resident of North Carolina. We had arranged for him to fly here, and the flight was canceled. Yeah. I know the defense was also, had subpoenaed him in an out-of-state witness process, but we have reached an agreement with the defense that he only testified in 1995, that his 1995 transcript will be read into the record. That is agreed, Your Honor. Yes, one more, and it's regarding Roberta Cadera.
Before we get to that, let's call Chris Cadera's 519.
Yes.
Roberta?
Roberta Cadera, I do not believe has been submitted as a proposed exhibit. Part of that was and struggling with her transcript. The original motion by the state requested her 1995 transcript, and then that was under kind of a different arrangement at that time, and at this time I think it's been decided that either side can use previous transcripts. I think after reading both transcripts that the 1993 is cleaner, and I would propose submitting Roberta Cadera's testimony through the 1993 transcript, which would be proposed exhibit 5.
Any problem with that?
No, what we need to confirm is I think we may well want to add the 95, Your Honor.
So you'll make that determination before she's called?
Yes, but I think it's safer to assume for the purposes of witness preparation that that is going to happen. When we're talking to them about reading, if we do change our mind, I'd let the court and counsel know that right away. There she is.
Any issue with that as well?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else from the state?
I think, just to raise a question, there are two other transcripts that we could read into the record. I'm not sure we have readers, and that would be Ralph Thompson and Stephen Peck. I believe it would be fairly straightforward, sort of scientific issues, and Julie and I could read those, one read and the other read a witness. I don't know if there's any issue with that. That's how we normally would probably do these things, but there's so many of them. But if that creates any sort of issue, we can try and find somebody else.
It's not a problem, so you won't be able to.
And I'm going to need a little bit of time to get this all put together. We just reached the agreement regarding Cadera and Feller yesterday.
How much time would you want?
Another 15 minutes.
Or why don't we tell the jury we'll be ready to go accordingly?